So remember that we have header, main, and footer on this page. And at the moment, we're just adding content to the main section of this web page. What I want to do is, before we continue adding design for the main part of the web page, is to just add some placeholders for the header and the footer, so you know that they are going to be there as well. So this is not going to be the first thing you will see or the last thing you will see on this web page. So let's go back to our HTML file, and I just want to put some placeholder for the header. And let me just add an H1. This is something I will remove later, so it's just for us to know that there is going to be something over here. We will decide what to put there later. So I will say this is the header part, and I will add a line here, an HR, which is going to give me a horizontal line so that it separates the header from the main. And then I'm going to go to the footer part and also add here some footer. Let's say another H1. I'm selecting H1 so that it's larger, so it's more visible. This is the footer section. And let's just go and add an HR for now before this is a footer section. So as a result of adding these two placeholders, you can see on your web page that, okay, so this part at the top is reserved for the header. At the bottom here, we have some section reserved for the footer. Now we can go back and focus more on what we are going to do with the main. Okay, just to remember, we have those sections to think about in the future too. So there's a few things I need to think about here. One is, remember, the most important phrase here on the whole page is probably Lotus Flower Bakery. That's the name, the brand. That's what we want people to search on the search engine on Google and be able to find the website. So that's something that we want to keep, and we want to keep it as an H1, as a heading one. That's the most important piece of text that we want to have. There is, however, something that is concerning for me, because it looks like we are repeating that line, since I have exactly the same thing in the logo. Now, the logo is part of the image, so this part is image. We have Lotus Flower Bakery, the same exact 3 words over here as we have in the H1. So I do want to have an H1 with the same 3 words, because I do want it for search engine optimization. Later on, we're going to discuss that. But I don't want it exactly to appear immediately after the logo, at least, or we need to put it somewhere else, or change something some way. So let's keep that in mind. I don't have a clear plan for this at the moment, but it's something that I'm thinking about. So I was thinking maybe we should remove this, because we already have this in the logo. But remember, text inside the image, it's not searchable text, it's just image. So we do need to have some text that says Lotus Flower Bakery somewhere on the home page. So for now, what I want to do is to take it out of here and just bring it to the header, just to make sure I'm going to use it at some point in the future, but I don't want it to be immediately after the logo, because it's repeating the text on the logo. So that's one thing I want to do. So I'll take this H1, which is after my image, out. I cut it from here. I will add this to the top of the header, even before where it says this is the header part. So I will just paste it up here. So that's one thing. The second thing I want to do is this H2, heading 2, which means it's a heading, it's important, but it's not the main heading. That says rediscover real sourdough. So it's an important message. We do want to keep it. We do want it to be a heading, not H1, but H2 is a good level of heading, let's say, for this phrase. Now, what I want to do, however, is to design this further, make it larger, change the font family, and make some changes to make it fancy. So one thing I wanted to share with you is there are some default font families that we can use. The default, if you don't specify anything about what font you want to use, is what you see on the screen. So that's the default serif font that you will see here. So it looks like newspaper fonts. Now, remember, there's a difference between serif and sans serif fonts. If you don't know exactly what those are at the moment, don't worry about it. That's a discussion of a different time. But what I want to tell you is the number of default fonts is limited, or the number of web safe fonts that you don't need to import anything for, it's limited. You have, let's say, if you want to count how many distinctive fonts you have, maybe, so some of them are very similar to each other, maybe 5 or 6 types. However, we have other resources to use. So for example, Google Fonts. So Google has a large list of fonts that they have designed, and they have open sourced them, so everybody can use them for free. And we can easily import whatever font we want from the collection of Google Fonts that has amazing fonts over there and bring them to our website and use them here. So let's go ahead and take a look at their collection first, and then decide which one of them would probably be a good choice for this one. So if I refresh here, by the way, that's gone. The H1 is on the top, saved for later. Now, this is what I want to work on, the rediscover real sourdough. So let me just search for Google Fonts CSS. Let's just say Google Fonts. And I had a typo too, but it brings me to the page anyway. So Google Fonts, browse the fonts. And as you can see, if you click that link, you have a collection of fonts. You even have icons to use on your website. That's beautiful. So let's go to the fonts. And let's say, just for the sake of example, let's say we like this one. And it is called Whisper. So you just need to know the name of the font here. Once you import the font, you will be able to use it as a font family. So let's go ahead and try this first. I actually like this, and let's go ahead and see how it is going to look on our website. So in order to use Google Fonts, the first thing we need to do is to import the particular font that we want to use. Now remember on index.html how we linked our CSS file on the head section here. This is exactly what we need to do to link another resource. In this case, it's going to be the Google collection of fonts that we are going to link to our index.html to be able to use. So let's go ahead and add a second link over here. So again, it's a self-closing. And what I want here is going to be href is going to be, it's an external resource. So it's not the name of a file directly. So we need to give exactly the URL from Google Fonts API. So it's going to be HTTPS. And by the way, you can look it up online if you want to, or if you want to connect to any other resource online. So the Google line, which is available publicly online, is the following: https://fonts.googleapis.com. So that's the link to the web page. But what I want to get from that is /CSS/name of the font that I want to get. So here I would like to query for that particular font. So it's not a slash here. I'll put a question mark, and then I will write family is equal to, now you remember the name of the font I wanted to use was Whisper. So I will type that here. So I'm just importing the font family named Whisper from Google Fonts. Now I need to be careful that I don't have any typos here, and this is correct. So I will go back to double check, and yes, so this is Whisper. Now, as a result of linking this, and by the way, remember that when you are linking CSS, it's also a good idea to add the rel, whether before or after your href, to be equal to style sheet. Okay, we had the same thing when we were connecting our own CSS. So now we have access to Google Fonts, and a particular font we're interested in is called Whisper. So now that I have imported that, how am I going to use it? Well, you remember that I want to use that on my H2 that says rediscover real sourdough. I don't want to change any other fonts at the moment. I don't want to use Whisper anywhere else. That's my unique tagline that I want to design at the moment. So remember, that's H2. So I'll go to my style.css. I will select my H2, which is going to be the tagline. Now, am I going to have multiple H2s in the future? Maybe. So it's probably a good idea to give it an ID. So let's go back, give this particular H2 an ID, and I'm going to call this, let's say, slogan. Okay, so let's say this is the slogan of the business. Just this, it doesn't matter what you name them as long as you know how you named each element that you want to change. It's up to you. You can give them any names, but the more descriptive they are, they're easier for you to be able to find them in the future if you want to change them. So I give this particular H2 an ID because I might have other H2s in the future that do not want to share the same font. So let's save this, go back to CSS. Instead of selecting H2, I will now select the particular ID, which I called slogan. And what I want to do here is to give it a font family equal to the name of the font, which I imported from Google Fonts was Whisper. And because it's a specific name, it's not one of the default fonts, I make sure that I type it exactly as I saw it before, so with a capital W, uppercase W, and I put it in quotation marks. And then I want to add a secondary font family just in case this font wasn't found, just in case there was a problem with the connection of my web page and Google Fonts API for any reason. I want to have a backup font, which is one of the default fonts. And let's just go with a sans serif font. So sans serif is available everywhere on everybody's computer and browser. So that's not something that we need to import. It's known everywhere. It's one of the default fonts. Okay, so Whisper is what I want to have, but if that was not available for any reason, it will go to the second font, which I added here. So that's a backup font. And let's go ahead and test. Let's see, after importing it and selecting this particular font family only for my H2 with the ID slogan, it's going to change that element. I'll go back to my web page, I will refresh, and there you go, it worked. We imported a Google font and we changed it, but it's too small, isn't it? Let's go ahead and increase the font size a lot. Okay. I want to do something a little bit different this time. I want to, instead of using pixels, I want to show you something else. So first I will select font size. I could go ahead and just put some pixel size here. Like if, for example, now you're looking at 16 pixels, I can make it 50 or 100. But another thing you could do is to say, okay, double the default size or triple the default size or increase it how many fold as much as you want. So what I want to do here is to use the concept of EM, which is like that. So for example, if I want to make it 4 times bigger, I will say 4EM. And let's go ahead and take a look. After saving it, refresh your document, and there you go. So this is the same H2 with our new font from Google Fonts called Whisper, and now it is 4 times larger than the default size. Okay. You want to make it even larger? Let's see. Let's see how it looks if it was 5EM instead. Okay, even better. Now, we can change it in the future if we want to. One thing I want to change right now is, in order to make this more readable, I want this, it looks to me as if it's a bit too thick. I want to make it thinner. The lines of the font itself, and there is an attribute under the font properties called font weight that I can change that. Now some of the fonts support that. Some of them don't. I hope that this one supports it. So let's go ahead and test. So after making the font size larger, I want to decrease the font weight. So font weight is going to be, now this one could be, as you can see, it's a number between 100 to 900, or you can just go with the predetermined word like bold or light or things of this sort. Now I'm going with the 100, which is going to be the thinnest possible font weight for this particular font. Let's see how it's gonna look. I think it will make it more readable, and it looks better in my view. It's not as thick as before. It's a bit thinner. You see more details in this beautiful font, and let's keep it like this for now. And again, we can go back to the collection and maybe find something more beautiful for this particular context, which is going to be a bakery website, basically. Now, I like that for the tagline, for the slogan over there. What do you think? Would you go with the same font, or how about this? This is another one. You want to go ahead and try this one? Let's also try this one before we decide which one it is going to be. So I will copy the name from here exactly to make sure that I'm not making any mistakes in typing it. So I will paste it both for the font family, save, and for my import, because I want to import this particular font here. So let me save both of them, and let's see the change. I'll go back to my document. So this is the previous one. I'll refresh the page. This is the new one. Well, they're very similar. I think they're so similar in terms of that there was a difference. I saw it was changed from what it was to what it is now. You can replay the video to see the difference. I like both of them. Let me stay with this, okay? And maybe in the future we can give both options to the client and they can choose what they want to go with. So at the moment I'll go with this, and let's go ahead and focus on one other thing we want to add to this design. I was thinking to make some fancy curved line going through or over the logo here. So to give this whole a design of a like a round arc going from left to right, like this. Now let's see if we can create something like that without using any images, just using HTML and CSS. I believe we should be able to replicate something